صل على محمد وعلى محمد.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ألا إن لله ما في السماوات والأرض. ألا إن وعد الله حق ولكن أكثرهم لا يعلمون. هو يحيي ويميت وإليه ترجعون. يا أيها الناس قد جاءتكم موعظة من ربكم وشفاء لما في الصدور وهدى ورحمة للمؤمنين. قل بفضل الله وبرحمته وبذلك فليفرحوا هو خير مما يجمعون. قل أرأيتم ما أنزل الله لكم من رزق فجعلتم منه حراما وحلالا. قل الله أذن لكم أم على الله تفترون. صدق الله العلي العظيم.
اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد.
إن شاء الله. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلى الله وسلم على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين. اللهم صل على محمد. Brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Inshallah, we'll continue reflecting on the ayat of Sura Yunus. We covered up to ayat 54 last week, so inshallah we will be covering 55 and few ayat from there, inshallah, as much as we can. As we mentioned, the Surah Yunus, revealed in Mecca, therefore dealing with the core principles of Islam, the oneness of God, the prophethood of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the truthfulness of Quran, and obviously warnings about the Day of Judgment, reminders and glad tidings for the believers, and at the same time warning for those who can be warned. In the previous ayat, immediately before ayat 55, there was basically Quran was describing what people would bring up as arguments against Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and his response, God's response to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to them. So one of the common arguments and challenges that they would bring up is that where is that promise? Where is the Prophet is warning them about worldly, here we're speaking of worldly consequences of their disobedience, their refusal, their continuous denial of the Quran and acting against the law of God. Therefore, he warns them. And we mentioned that often time Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would remind them of previous nations, the nation of Nabiullah Ibrahim, Nabiullah Nuh, alayhi salam, the nation of Ibrahim, Hud, Saleh, Lut. All these examples are given in the Quran. A big part of it is a warning to them. And we said that the nation of Yunus were the ones who were unique in the sense that the punishment was about to come, but because they returned in the right time and they repented and sought forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala collectively. The narration says that all of them, one of their scholars told them, gather all of you and bring even the infant children, the nursing mothers, the elderly, bring everybody to an open area and to call, to seek forgiveness and call God to protect them from the upcoming or the coming wrath and punishment. And they did, and they were exempt from that. So the nation of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam were denying, constantly denying him and harming him, harming those who followed him. And so there's a warning for them. And one of their typical responses was, where is that promise? وَيَقُولُونَ مَتَى هَذَا الْوَعْدُ إِن كُنتُمْ صَادِقِينَ. If you're telling the truth, where is that promise? We are doing all that we are doing and nothing is happening. And so in the previous ayat, some of those responses were given. First, the fact that the Prophet is not in control of it, God is. He continuously told them that I am a messenger, I am not God. I can warn you and I can tell you God is reminding you, advising you, telling you do this and don't do that. And he is warning you. وَيُحَذِّرُكُمُ اللَّهُ نَفْسَهُ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran says he's warning you about himself because he is the omnipotent. There's no limit to his power, so he can do everything. And one of the arguments was that everything belongs to him. Why? At first, again, part of the arguments that he gave them to teach them, not an argument to argue, not for the sake of argument, for the sake of knocking some sense into them. He said, first, it's all in the hands of God. Second, are you prepared for it? If it comes, are you prepared for it? The next thing is that everything, أَلَا إِنَّ لِلَّهِ مَا فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ, everything in the heavens and the earth belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They acknowledged him being the creator. He's saying it's not just him creating. He creates and maintains everything. He has power over everything. Therefore, his promise can easily happen. In a split second, everything could change. The weather could, we have today a beautiful sunny day. In a split second, and Orlando is a great example of that. Huh? You have a good sunny day, next thing is a storm starts, or vice versa. Yeah, you have a storm, and the next thing is it's clear and you have beautiful sunny day. In any case, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, everything belongs to him and he has power over everything. Therefore, he can do anything he wants and his promise can definitely happen. And he says, Inna wa'dallahi haqq, ala inna wa'dallahi haqq. His promise is truth. The next ayah 56, he says, Huwa yuhyi wa yumitu. So we had covered 55, I guess. Ala inna lillahi ma fi samawati wal ard, ala inna wa'dallahi haqq. So he says everything belongs to him. His promise is truth. Most people don't have knowledge of that. La ya'lamun. So it's important to understand that ilm helps us reach closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Knowledge and seeking knowledge, be it in sciences and technology, any area, helps one become knowledge and seeking knowledge helps one become closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So أكثر الناس لا يعلمون. Most people don't know. That is why they don't recognize the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how He has power over everything. And also, they don't recognize the truthfulness of His promise. ألا إن وعد الله حق. Those are not recognized because people don't have knowledge. Most people don't have knowledge. ولكن أكثر الناس لا يعلمون. So with knowledge, and we said knowledge in any area, especially with an open mind, one is researching and trying to understand the universe. With an open mind, we'll see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for sure. If somebody is analyzing atoms or analyzing the entire galaxy or galaxies or the universe, whatever, however big you go and however small you go, if one has an open mind, they will see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The poet puts it beautifully in Farsi. He says, I look at the desert, I see your face. I look at the plains and the fields, I see your face. I look at the ocean, I see your face. Everywhere I look, I see the beauty of your face. Nishan has found the signs of the beauty of your presence, the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nishan has found this is derived, in fact, from the words of Ahlul Bayt, salawatullah wa salamu alayhim ajma'in. Imam Ali alayhi salam, he says, I never looked at anything except that I saw God before it, after it, and within it. Seeing God not in the physical sense, obviously. Somebody asked him, he said, do you see God? They saw him being how high he was in terms of his position and status. They said, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, do you see your Lord? He said, would I worship a God that I cannot see? And then he clarifies to him. He says, eyes, the physical eyes are unable, not capable of seeing him. But the hearts are well equipped to see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we're not speaking of the physical heart either, here the core. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is everywhere. We can see Him in everything. And the more knowledge we have, the more we understand the universe, the more we understand that He is the owner of all and that everything is controlled by one. If you look at, in fact, when we analyze from the tiniest object to the largest, we will find that all of them are bound by the same rules. The laws of physics are all the same laws. They apply within the atom and they apply to the entire galaxy. That is in itself one of the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One creator, one system, one set of laws for everywhere, everything. And the fact that His promise is possible and how powerful Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. In fact, one of the things that often makes one recognize the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and how He has put so much of His so much wisdom into this universe that we're in, to the point that we look at, again, we're speaking of the tiniest objects, atoms. Within the atom, there's so much power that we cannot see. But scientists, with their research, they came to a point where for good or bad, you could use it for good, but some may use it for bad. Atomic power and the atomic bomb or the nuclear power is from basically the nucleus, from the tiniest thing that you cannot see with the eye. You cannot see it with the naked eye, yet it has so much power. That itself tells you that there's so much we don't know. This is something they found, and there's so much energy that they can bring about from an atom. Okay, and that atom can run a power plant instead of so much oil or so much coal or whatever. Now imagine if we go to another level or layer of technology that we still don't know, and there is so much that we don't know. That tells us that the more we research the universe, the more we will understand how powerful Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. Therefore, ألا إن وعد الله حق. And those with knowledge understand that. But most people, أكثر الناس لا يعلمون. Then he reminds us another reminder, هو يحيي ويميت وإليه ترجعون. Life and death is in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we mentioned that the previous ayat, they have warnings about this world and the consequences of rebelliousness and the consequences of disobedience and sinfulness in this world and also in the hereafter. In this world, he has power over everything. لله ما في السماوات والأرض ألا إن لله ما في السماوات والأرض ألا إن وعد الله حق. He has everything belongs to him. Therefore, his promise is truth. He can do anything in this universe and in the hereafter. هو يحيي ويميت وإليه ترجعون. He gives life and he is the one who takes life, and everyone returns to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is basically double reminder, double warning for them, that they're saying, where is the promise? وَيَقُولُونَ مَتَى هَذَا الْوَعْدُ إِن كُنتُمْ صَادِقِينَ. His response is beyond their questioning. Their questioning is about this world. He's saying not only in this world he can do everything and change everything and make his promise can come true when he wants, it will come true. Not only that, but also you will return to him. يحيي ويميت وإليه ترجعون. In the bringing up the ihya of this world is a reminder about the rujua. So he gives life and he takes away life. Now they're all already living. Okay, so he could say, huwa yumitukum, he will take your life away and you will return to him. Why huwa yuhyi wa yumitu wa ilayhi turja'un? Ihya is a reminder about the rujua. What does he say in Surah Yasin? When that man said that when we turn into dust, yuhyi al-'idama wa hiya ramim. What was the question? What the answer? We mentioned that the answer came before the question in the ayat. First he says, وَضَرَبَ لَنَا مَثَلًا وَنَسِيَ خَلْقَهُ. That's the answer already. He gave us an example and he forgot his own creation. And he said, مَن يُحْيِي. He said, who would revive the bones when they are dust? And then the answer, again, emphasis, double emphasis. He says, قُلْ يُحْيِيهَا الَّذِي أَنْشَأَهَا أَوَّلَ مَرَّةٍ. The one who brought it into existence the first time is the one who gives life back to it. Now that is the same as نَسِيَ خَلْقَهُ. You see, يُحْيِيهَا الَّذِي أَنْشَأَهَا أَوَّلَ مَرَّةٍ is just reiterating the fact that he forgot his own creation. So here, هو يحيي ويميت وإليه ترجعون. يحيي, he gave you life in the first place, and he, after death, he will bring you all back to life. It is possible. His promise is true about here, and his promise is true about the hereafter and the ruju', the return and resurrection. Therefore, and again, it's a double reminder and double warning. Then the next ayah is returning to the concept of the Holy Quran. Yes.
I have a question from last time.
Yes.
So you mentioned that with our present times, there's a possibility of spiritual degradation with regards to how people treat Salah, how people maybe they fast, how Hajj has become commercial. So that's very valid on one side. On the other side, you look at humanity and how in some certain instances we've grown. For example, Albania. The whole event is a human being acting and behaving at a different level.
Yeah.
For example, the protests against the Palestinian oppression.
Yeah.
That's humanity. People who have nothing to do with them. In fact, they're Jews themselves.
Yeah.
So looking at this dichotomy, it seems to us that there's a kind of we are the ones who have to choose.
Yes.
On the one hand, there's possibility of degradation, which is possible. The Hajj has become very, commercialized. It's lost its essence. On the other hand, there's an ability or there is a potential of us human beings linking up to the high world, where there's great things happening.
Yes,
So we have to be mindful
yes.
on what we choose and make
Which path?
the good.
Ahsan. So the comment is so that they those who are watching online. The comment is that we have, on the one hand, people even within the religious community degrading and not being in the right on the right path, and even their Hajj doing it as a simply just to tick check mark. I did my Hajj, and most importantly, make sure you start using the title. And other acts are the month of Ramadan, month of festivities. It's no longer about spirituality in many communities, many so-called Muslim countries. These night parties and get-togethers and feasting and so on, and other areas. At the same time, we see that human beings are maturing in some areas, standing up for the oppressed, protesting even at the cost of some inconvenience or some harm that they expose themselves to, and so on. So we see some positive things. Obviously, we always had positive and negative in the societies. And what we have today, and overall, in my humble opinion, overall, human beings are maturing. Overall. Today, even when oppressors and tyrannical systems and governments, when they want to oppress, they have to somehow justify it. And one of the worst, I guess, one of the worst systems in this regard is Israel. They don't feel the need to justify. I think it's just their money and their financial power plays a big role. But even then, they knew that media is very important, so they control media in order to decorate or put it in a way that is not so abhorrent, not so bothersome for the people. Nevertheless, most societies and most human beings have come to a level that they don't accept simply invasions and killings of innocent people. It used to happen in the past, and it was okay. There was absolutely nothing wrong with it. It's another nation. It didn't matter. You mentioned something about someone from a different race or different religion. This is happening more often nowadays, that somebody from a different religion or different race stands up for someone who doesn't belong to their own race or religion. That's big, because come back to the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If somebody saw a group of slaves, and typically they were black at the time. If somebody saw a group of slaves taking a black slave to the cemetery, a dead person, it's from them. It didn't bother them. They wouldn't even ask who it is. When the Prophet ﷺ stood one day and said, there's a funeral, let's go and participate, they were shocked. These are all from a different race. So, that kind of society they were living in. And basically, in terms of their lives, didn't matter. If you go and invade their countries to take their wealth, it was perfectly fine, because when they brought the slaves into this country, yes, from somebody shared with me to have visited the site where they used to have the ships come in Africa and take those who are captured from their tribes and put in these first they put in some buildings, underground type buildings, until the ship is ready. And then when the ship is there, they start putting them. Many of them died in the process of while they're held in prison or while they're being transported and so on. Did anyone there think, well, these are humans, they're dying from starvation or from the conditions that we're putting them in? Why are we doing this? Nobody cared. It's like, this is how humans were. So maturity is definitely happening. I am not doubting that at all. At the same time, the choices are there and we have to make those choices. It is not by labels that we are a religious community, we are followers of Ahlul Bayt, now we're immune, we are all perfect. No, within the followers of Ahlul Bayt, there are so many who are by far worse than those who may not be amongst the followers of Ahlul Bayt. Okay, the Ba'ath party in Iraq, a lot of them were amongst the followers of Ahlul Bayt. A lot of them were. Okay, the Ba'ath that was in Najaf and killed so many of the followers of Ahlul Bayt and the scholars and so many of the Sada from the family of Hakim and the Sadr family, the Hakim family, and so on. A lot of them were the followers of Ahlul Bayt. Okay, were neighbors from the same, and a lot of them were now interestingly, a lot of them were amongst those who would still hold, the majalis and so on. However, the system, the Ba'ath system, the biggest problem was the ziyarah of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. So if you're a Ba'athi at that time, if you were Ba'athi, you had to actually declare that you would not support the ziyarah of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. That was an amazing thing. It's the name of Imam Hussein alayhi salam has always been synonymous with liberation, with freedom, with freeing ourselves from oppressors and tyrants. And so it's always scared the oppressors and the dictators. This is the beauty of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. So again, maturity is happening. And within the religious community, we have some who are going astray. Okay, now you look at in the Arab and Muslim world, not just the Arab, but also the Muslim world. Okay, there is less support for the Palestinians in the Muslim world than there is in the Western world. That's the reality. Okay, whether we like it or not, if we look at the protests, okay, show me one protest in Arabia. Okay. Now you might say, but they don't allow it. Well, here they're not allowing it, in universities and stuff, and people are still, doing their best, doing whatever they can do. Now, whether or not how they should do it, and whether or not they should do it when the owner of that's an argument that it's not my specialty. If the campus says we don't want protests on our grounds, maybe it's their right to say so. It's just like if they tell you that you're not allowed to pray on campus, for example. In Islam, you cannot pray on campus. If you go you have to abide. So this is a different area. That's not this argument with it. But nevertheless, they're doing it despite being exposed to harm and not allowed and so on. And in other parts of the world, they're absolutely doing nothing. And that is a sad reality that we're living in. So it's not by labels. Human beings overall are maturing, and within groups and ethnicities and religious groups, there are some who are choosing to go on the wrong path and turn a blind eye to the truth that's out there, that's clear. Now, with the information being available, truth is out there, it's clear. It's hard to ignore it. And some choose to follow the truth and stand up for the truth and so on. So I totally agree that, yes, there is degradation, but there is overall maturity. So I hope that...
How is it? Why the last question at this point?
So last century, there's a possibility of spiritual degradation. So because the Hajj has become very diluted, Ramadan is very diluted. So that's one side. On the other side, I'm like, no, the human soul in some ways is really progressing because it's caring, it loves justice. And even in Armenia, it loves love for the fellow brother.
Yeah,
So I'm like, really, is there a degradation or is there improvement? So I think
Yeah.
it's where you go is what
yeah,
you learn.
and you have to choose.
Yeah.
The other thing is there is the promise of the punishment that brought that up. So we have a hadith that suggests that that wrath is not just for previous nations. It could happen to the nation of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was promised in the ayat that we recited in this surah that some of it you will see and some of it will happen after you. وَإِمَّا نُرِيَنَّكَ بَعْضَ الَّذِي نَعِدُهُمْ أَوْ نَتَوَفَّيَنَّكَ. In other words, some of it you will witness yourself, which the humiliation of Quraysh happened in the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They went from a point where they were the untouchables to a point where, and this is the thing, the classes in the society was so rigid and so strict that it was a shock for everybody, including the father of Abu Bakr. When his son became the Khalifa, his father was shocked and was saying to him, how dare you sit in that position when Abu Sufyan is there? Now look where he was stuck. It wasn't about Imam Ali alayhi salam, no. He was stuck in that point, you know. Abu Qahafa, he says, yeah, how dare you are sitting there? Abu Sufyan is here. Do you not realize who Abu Sufyan is? So they were stuck in that level of, classes of the society and so on. And so some of that promise happened in the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They were humiliated in Badr. The biggest heads were, in fact, amongst those who the Prophet addressed were killed in Badr, and most of them by Imam Ali alayhi salam. In fact, that's why they had so much hatred for Imam Ali alayhi salam, and they took it out on his children, salamullah alayhim. So that humiliation for them and the promise came true in the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and some of it would happen afterwards. That afterwards, in the hadith from the Imams of Ahlul Bayt, it happens in the end of times. Okay, does it mean once only? No, it seems like it could be different occurrences. So I'm not suggesting that every earthquake and flood is as a result of, or is an example of that, but many of them could be. You know, certain people and certain cities, they transgress. They may be in the best positions in terms of their ideology, theology. But in terms of their practice, they're far, as we mentioned, that they degraded, they are far from even prayers. Daily prayers are being neglected in some of our Muslim countries. Okay, daily prayers are being neglected, and youth are no longer interested, and so on. So those things have consequences, some in this world and some in the hereafter. And that's what I was referring to. But yes, overall, humanity is maturing, and it may even be happening in some non-Muslim parts of the world more than other parts of the world. I say, regarding racism, the Western world has less racism than the East and the Muslim countries. And I'm speaking from experience. Here, racism is basically is a swear word. If you say to someone you're a racist, you're slandering them, yeah. But if you say to someone in the Arab world that you are being, racist against a non-Arab, of course we are Arab. If you say it to the Persian, he'll say the same thing to you. Of course, we are. So they are proud of their racism, unfortunately. Maybe it happens the same thing I was hearing in India, for example. Now, these are the things I've touched. It's not like I heard. No, I know it. I've seen it. I know it. But I've heard that it's the same thing in India or other parts of the world. They have that. They have so much racism or religious discrimination and so on, so much more than what we witness in even in some parts of the world, even sectarianism. which is kind of under control in the West, which is all thanks to God, it's under control. They don't allow sectarian violence, for instance, and they take it very serious. If they smell it, they will try and stop it from its roots. Whereas in other parts of the world, every now and then it happens, and the governments turn a blind eye to it. When that Sheikh Hassan Shahata was martyred in Egypt, they called the authorities. They said there are mobs gathering around our house. It was the 15th of Sha'ban, and few Shia, who are very few in that town, were gathered for the 15th of Sha'ban. And when the mobs were gathering in hundreds or thousands, they called authorities. The authorities gave an order that leave it. And they were dragged out of their homes and beaten with sticks until they died. The humiliation and that kind of death. This tells us that, unfortunately, yarhamkumullah, in that part of the world, they have not matured as much as they have in other parts, in this part or other parts. So thank God, and let's pray and hope that we can actually spread that level of maturity to our world as well. Yes. No, this is okay.
Yeah. So to follow on from this question, and I understand that when we talk about maturity, we talk about spiritual maturity, right?
Yeah.
Manifesting the Islamic values,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's Islam or not. Like
Yes. Yeah.
Western
Yes.
maturity.
Yeah.
So, say 100 years from now.
Yeah.
Or even now, we do look at churches are empty, mosques are starting to get empty. 100 years from now, do we not see a continuing degradation, or do you see a balance still?
So that's a very good point. So we see that churches and mosques are getting empty. There is an issue with most of the society that they are rebelling against traditionalism. They don't feel like traditionalism or traditional people, the organized religious groups, that they answered their questions, and they don't feel like those groups did the right thing for their generation, and so they feel limited by them. They want to break free from that. And some churches and religious groups decided that they want to make sure that they keep up. And so they went and walked in the Mardi Gras. I don't know if you know what I mean. I remember back in Sydney, I was having a discussion with a priest. We were very close. And so he asked me about our opinion about homosexuality and so on. And then he said, we tried and tried to stay against it, but it didn't work. And we decided to actually walk with them. So if you can't beat them, join them. So he said, we had a group of priests in last year that we actually walked in the Mardi Gras. I don't know if you're familiar with that walk that they have in Australia. I don't know if they have it here and how big it is, but in Australia, in Sydney, they have it. Okay, so in Australia, in Sydney, it's big. And basically, you don't want to be anywhere near the city when they're doing it, because you'll find the definition of وَيُغَيِّرُونَ خَلْقَ اللَّهِ. They change the creation of God, basically making themselves look like aliens and creatures and whatever, dress up and whatever. In any case, mostly, revealing body parts and whatever else. And so they could not beat them. They decided to join them in that way. I don't know if that helped and if that filled their church or if that did anything for them. That's not the way, in my humble opinion. That's not the way. You have to reach them or reach the society in different ways. One of the ways is to come together. If the religious communities cannot resolve their issues, if our elders do not resolve their problems and issues, youth, especially those who are maturing, they want to break free. And I've said it to many communities, when you fight amongst yourselves over insignificant issues, whether it be the running of centers, whether it be within the Shia community, whether it be, certain traditional things that we do in Muharram that we have to do, and another group says, no, we shouldn't do this, or anything of division and creating problems within our communities, it acts as a repellent. We will lose the numbers. So if we want to come together, if we want to bring our youth and maintain their connection to the religion, then we need to make sure that we are working together. The more we work together, interfaith, intrafaith, within sects, the more we work together within communities, regardless of which street we belong to. I don't want to make any more. I hope it's clear, which project or which street. Regardless of this, we can, if we can be together, then we will not lose as many numbers as we would be. And the more we fight, the more we are repelling. We need to focus on coming together, and the youth want religiosity. It's not that they don't want religiosity. They don't want our religion because we haven't solved our problems. It's like, solve your problem, then come talk to me. And this is what's happening in the Middle East. It's not that they don't want religion. Atheism is not an ideology for those people. Okay, a lot of atheism is happening in the Middle East, but it's not an ideology. It's culture. I don't want to belong to this culture, therefore I'm atheist. Okay, explain to me what's your ideology? I don't know. It's not based on understanding. It's more of thinking. So it's more of a breaking free from this system. Okay, I'm not going to belong to, let's say it's a Muslim. I'm not going to go and say I'm a Christian, because I know the Prophet is truth, Quran is truth. But who's representing it? This masjid or this imam? I don't want to belong to this. Okay, promoting violence and sectarianism and killing or whatever. I don't want to be part of this. So then they reject. And when the fight happens in that part of the world, it actually repels the youth, so they don't want to pray. They don't want to, when the governments are acting in a certain way and the religious organizations and so on. So maturity is happening. The youth and our future generations, I don't think that 100 years from now, or even 50, or not even now, I don't think they are not spiritual. Okay, they are spiritual, and they want to be good, which is the essence of religion. The essence of it is to be good and to have the Aman, Iman, and Amal al-Salih. Yeah, they have Iman, and they are trying to do good. It's just whether or not they acknowledge that these institutions are correct is the question. So, someone. That, I hope that answers it. Yeah. That's it. Ya ayyuhan nasu, we have time, yes. يا أيها الناس قد جاءتكم موعظة من ربكم وشفاء لما في الصدور وهدى ورحمة للمؤمنين. The ayah comes back after the promise and the warnings and so on. This ayah comes back to remind us about the significance of the Holy Quran. We said these chapters in Mecca, especially the surah, has frequent reminders about the significance of the Holy Quran. It is the word of God. It cannot be fabricated. the challenge in this surah about bring something like it. If you don't believe that this is from God, bring something like it. So here is now a description, besides the challenge, besides the rebuttals and the arguments, here a description of the beauty and the significance of the Holy Quran for all the people. It's addressing Nas. We said sometimes Quran addresses the believers, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu. Sometimes it addresses the Ahlul Kitab. قُلْ يَا أَهْلَ الْكِتَابِ. In this ayah, it is addressing all the people. يَا أَيُّهَا النَّاسِ قَدْ جَاءَتْكُمْ مَوْعِظَةٌ مِّن رَبِّكُمْ. It has surely come to you موعظة. And here I want to explain, not use the translation. And we said oftentimes translations are either limiting or in some cases they're not 100% accurate. Here I'm seeing the translation. What do you read in your translations?
All mankind there has come to you instruction from your Lord.
Instruction. What else? What do you have there? Great advice. And here I have admonition. Admonition to me seems I'm not an expert in English, but my understanding of admonition is that it has some sort of warning to it. Yeah, so it's not a positive way. There is and again, this is based on the Arabic to Arabic or the actual Arabic explanation of the term and the root where it comes from. So we have some scholars who suggest that maw'idha is the kind of reminder that has warning within it. That is, it's a bit harsh. Okay. And the reason they have that opinion is because sometimes it comes in the context of a fight. So, for instance, if the wife, if she is being rebellious, فَعِظُوهُنَّ, the start is do the maw'idha, then وَهْجُرُوهُنَّ, and then وَضْرِبُوهُنَّ, the part that many question. Now that's not our conversation. Back to maw'idha. Maw'idha could be seen as a reminder with a harsh tone, with a warning within it. However, it doesn't seem to be the prevalent explanation in the Arabic language of maw'idha, because maw'idha also comes from care. A reminder because I care. Okay? And if we understand it this way, even in that ayah, it makes more sense. Your wife, she's doing something wrong. You remind her with what? With harshness or with care? And this is first stage. With care makes more sense, yeah? So I'm telling you this because I care about you. I'm reminding you, even your children. You tell them, and you should be treating your wife with love like you treat your own children, especially a wife who is the mother of your children. And same, husband, wife, because nowadays we have, in some cases, we have to tell you should treat your husband with care like you treat your children. In any case, so maw'idha seems to have a care aspect to it. So Quran is a maw'idha from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because God cares about us so much. It's a reminder, it is an advice with care. I don't know, would you say admonition is advice, or it has a little more?
Comes across as not advice, not in a harsh.
It doesn't have harsh tone to it? Okay. Okay.
It can, but
Okay, so it does have a warning, the warning aspect. Yeah, so it doesn't, it doesn't seem like maw'idha has the warning aspect, and the translation or the meaning I would take from it is more towards the care aspect. Okay, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, through his care for mankind, Hasana, Ahsan, yeah. So when you want to invite your Lord, you want to do, and often what I explain maw'idha is how lecturers and speakers present their speech when they remind. Okay, when I'm told, let's say I come to a gathering, okay, and I'm told we want you to focus on this particular issue. Okay, there's an issue in the community about this matter. Okay, the way I would have to do it is bring stories, examples, ayat from the Holy Quran, and present it in a very, very digestible way so that they can get it. Why? Because the hope is that we can affect them and implement and bring about change. Why? Because we care. We care about them. We want to try and change them. Okay? So this is maw'idha. And Quran is that. Quran is maw'idhatun min rabbikum. It's from your Lord. He cares about us so much. He revealed the Quran so that we can change, we can purify, we can better ourselves. And also, وَشِفَاءٌ لِمَا فِي الصُّدُورِ. The context of this ayah tells us that maw'idha is very positive. Okay, maw'idhatun min rabbikum is very positive, very loving, very caring. The next one is shifa'un lima fi sudur. It is so gentle, maw'idha is so gentle, therefore it cures the hearts. Shifa'un lima fi sudur. Sadr is chest. What is in the sadr is the qalb, okay, the heart. But it's not referring to the physical chest or the physical heart. What often sadr is used because heart is the one that contains the emotions and the feelings, and it's the drive. It drives us. And so what is contained in there is the not just the emotions in the chest, you have the emotions from the heart and the information that is with it. And therefore the perceptions. Okay, so you receive information and then you emotionalize those information, and then you have a perception. Okay, that is all within the chest, the sudur. Okay, a lot of these could be erroneous. We could have the information misunderstanding, and therefore our perception is a misunderstanding of the reality out there. And so the Quran it cures all that. Some of what is in the hearts that Quran gives examples of in other ayat is the ghil, the hatred that people have for one another. Quran is a shifa for that. Shifa means what? In paradise, there's absolutely no ill feelings towards one another, because now we are cured. And Quran is a cure, means it takes away those ill feelings. It fixes our hearts. Last night I gave an example as we were celebrating the birth of Imam Rida alayhi salam. Congratulations. I gave an example of one of the words of wisdom from the Imam. It's a long hadith. The last one of the things that he advises us to do, and any wise believer, is that whenever you look at somebody, you say they are better than me. Huwa khayrun minni. When I said that, one of the sisters made a comment. She said, how much more beautiful our world and humanity would be if this one principle was implemented. Just one principle. He is better than me. We always look at ourselves as, I'm better. We are the better ones. Somebody, my daughter was telling me this morning that somebody said to her, Muslims who pray like this are better than the Muslims. You know, the folding hand versus the hands down. Oh, we are better. We fold hands. I don't know how does it help? That is the influence, the effect of Umar on the religion. That's the reality. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us followers of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and not those who changed his religion after him. Nevertheless, whether you pray like this or pray like this doesn't make you better. And I've said it to people, somebody could be praying with their hands down, and because this is the school I belong to, but has nothing to do with akhlaq of Ahlul Bayt and how Ahlul Bayt are. And somebody could be folding their hands because that's how they learned how to pray. However, they are so much more in connection to the Prophet and his family, salawatullah wasalam alayhi. So it's not about the labels. And we cannot look at anyone and say, I'm better than him. In fact, the other would be the better way. The right way is huwa khayrun minni. Maybe he's better. Maybe his heart is better, cleaner than my heart. Maybe his ending will end up being better than my ending. That's one of the things that we can actually fix any kind of situation that could, or any kind of question that could come to our mind. Oh, but what if somebody is so and so, and what if somebody is so and so? What if they end up having a better ending than you and I? So let's not be judgmental and look at people with love. That's how God wants us to be. Shifa'un lima fi sudur means there's no jealousy in the heart anymore. Quran purifies the hearts, no jealousy in there, no hatred in there, no ill feelings, no rage and ill intentions, none of that. Pure, clean hearts. And this is what Quran is. موعظة من ربكم وشفاء لما في الصدور, and more. You might think that this is enough. This is a reminder with care, good advice, a reminder, and it's also curing the hearts. This is good, this is perfect. No, it says it's more. Wahudan. Hudan is guidance, showing the way. Okay, so first, maw'idha is general. Okay, you could say, for instance, in your maw'idha that backbiting is ruining your society, your community. Slandering is ruining your community. Okay, this is maw'idha in general. Now you come to the next level, and hudan. How do we actually get rid of it from our community? So we'll show you a way. Okay, there is the way of it could be in terms of fixing it, as Imam Zayn al-Abidin alayhi salam says, somebody does backbite you, what do? You speak well of them with the opposite. That's a treatment. That's the way. It's guiding us step by step guide. So wahudan. Hudan is almost like a step-by-step guide. How do we become better in any area in our journey to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And Hudan, by the way, is guidance with a very, very gentle way of the word, using the word. So in Arabic, this is an amazing part about Arabic and Quran in specific. The use of letters in words determines whether this is in a harsh way or gentle way. So when you use ha is a very gentle letter, okay? And therefore, huda is a very gentle way of step-by-step guidance. That's one of the beauties of it. There are other ways other words that you could use, but the use of huda is to show that it is also a gentle. This is why I would say maw'idha would not have anything other than caring, loving reminder. Hudan, maw'idhatan, shifa'an, wa hudan, wa rahmatan. The peak of it comes to Rahma. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He wants to introduce Himself in the beginning of Fatiha and the beginning of every chapter, He introduces Himself with what? Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, with His mercy. So He introduces Himself to us through His mercy. He wants us to know that He is Ar-Rahman, He is Ar-Rahim. He keeps repeating it in the Quran for us, and some suggest that it's not part of it, and they start their surahs in their salat without their Bismillah. Even Surah Al-Hamd, Sab'ul Mathani, the first ayah of it is Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Believe it or not, there were some Qurans that were printed at some point that they would not have Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim as the first ayah. Here, this is one of them, I think. Yes, you want to see for yourself. What's number one? Alhamdulillah. Yeah. So what did they do? They divided the last ayah to make it 7 ayat. صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم 5. صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. They did not even put the number 6 there, but they don't have number 6 and they have number 7 on. Can you find me number 6 there? There's no number 6 in that chapter. Yeah, there's absolutely no number 6. Okay, they don't have number 6. Some of them they printed them with صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم as 1 and غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين, which is totally against eloquence. You don't start a sentence or an ayah with غير, and nobody knows that as a second ayah. Everybody knows that this last one is the whole thing is one ayah, but they still printed those Qur'ans with Bismillah not being the first ayah of Surah Al-Hamd. Subhanallah. Yes.
So, what job is it? More harsh letter.
Ha versus ha versus a.
What verses?
Ha and a, letters that are from the halq. Yeah, ha is from the. Yeah. In words with ayn, for example, even I'll give you or even letters like va, okay, tafkhim, va, zalim, ظلم, ضالين, ضلال, yeah, even certain غي. So those with tafkhim and stuff. So there are specialists. I'm not a specialist in this particular science. I'm aware of it and aware of the fact that ha is one of the lighter ones, but there are specialists who would give you the classifications, and then you will, when it's displayed, there's no doubt. It's clear. You can see it. So dha takes a lot more than ha. Okay, that's why tahleel, one of the lightest thing is saying la ilaha illallah. Okay, you can say la ilaha illallah with not even moving your lips. If you try it, you'll see that you can say it without moving your lips. Okay, a very gentle sound and very soft, soft dhikr. I'm not aware of. In fact, I mean, this is one level. Then the abjad science of the Arabic language is another, abjad numbers is another science that I have not seen it in any other language. So there's a lot to the Arabic, even the depth in conjugation or sarf, the knowledge or the science of sarf, and how the words come from roots, those 3-letter or 4-letter, exceptionally 5, but mostly 3. That ilm sarf is something. It is amazing where you then put it in abwab. You say, for instance, you have the simple kataba, then you have aktaba, iktataba, kataba, All these are the abwab using the same verb but gives it a different meaning, and from the format that it's in, you know what it's suggesting. So istaghfara versus ghafara. Ghafara, he forgave. Istaghfara, he sought forgiveness, and seeking it with dread. So there are these sciences in the Arabic language. I believe it's unique. Perhaps this is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the Quran in Arabic, and He said, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَعْقِلُونَ, so you can understand. So إِنَّا أَنزَلْنَاهُ قُرْآنًا عَرَبِيًّا. We made him an Arabic Quran so that you can comprehend it. So it's more possible to comprehend and understand because of the Arabic language. وَشِفَاء وَهُدًى. And we said the peak here in this ayah, وَرَحْمَةٌ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Specific, it is a rahmah. Quran is a rahmah, but it's a rahmah specific for mu'mineen. A question, is the لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ, is it referring to rahmah or all of those things above? So, موعظة, شفاء, هدى, رحمة, is this للمؤمنين specific in terms of mercy or all of them? Okay, so there are different opinions. One that could say, that would suggest that it could be rahma lil mu'mineen, the rest is for everybody. Everybody can receive maw'idah from the Quran. Everybody can receive a cure, shifa from the Quran, and everybody could receive guidance, step-by-step guidance from the Quran. However, rahma is lil mu'mineen, specific. Some say, no, all of them are specific for the mu'mineen at certain level. The more iman, the more they can receive those things. But if we say that this is all of them, therefore people who don't have iman cannot receive any level of maw'idah or shifa or hudan at all. Neither mercy nor any of the ones before they could receive it. Wallahu a'lam, it seems like the specific or the specification of lil mu'mineen is about the rahmah. That's what it seems, although the other possibility is also there and it's mentioned by our scholars. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in another ayah that وَنُنَزِّلُ مِنَ الْقُرْآنِ مَا فِيهِ شِفَاءٌ وَرَحْمَةٌ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَلَا يَزِيدُ الظَّالِمِينَ إِلَّا خَسَارًا. So a zalim would not receive neither the shifa nor the rahmah in that ayah. Okay? In fact, it will increase, the Quran will increase them in loss, further loss and being astray. If one is not a zalim, so this would be the between, if we take the between. If one is not a zalim, they're not oppressors on that level, therefore they could receive some level of maw'idah. Somebody could read some ayat of the Holy Quran, they're not oppressors, and learn that they have to be good to their parents, for example. A maw'id. It's a beautiful maw'idah that is in the Quran. Or in the Quran we have an ayah that says, don't backbite, and gives the example of eating the flesh. Perhaps the term backbiting comes from that. أَيُحِبُّ أَحَدُكُمْ أَن يَأْكُلَ لَحْمَ أَخِيهِ مَيْتًا. Perhaps this is where it came from originally, when Quran gave this example of eating the flesh of a dead brother, and so that term became the term used that you're biting into someone, and the hadith of Ahlul Bayt are very, very strong on this. Imam Hassan alayhi salam, he says, al-ghibatu idamu kilab an-nar. It is the food of the dogs in hellfire. Now, what is the dog character? This is not necessarily dog in hellfire. Dogs are not, they don't end up, no, dogs as individuals with what we call sagsafat in Farsi. We say, you know, individuals with dog characteristics, okay? So barking and wanting to bite into someone, that's that. So that kind of person behind someone's back digging into their flesh. So that term came. Now, Quran gives this example, and it becomes more of a universal parable of slandering and speaking ill behind someone's back, okay, backbiting. That's a maw'idha that anyone can benefit from. Zalim will never listen. A zalim, an oppressor, okay, here we're speaking of someone who denies, someone who just doesn't care about akhirah, about consequences here or in the hereafter. Zalim on that level doesn't benefit. No maw'idha can get to them. No shifa is possible for them. And obviously no huda and no rahmah. But if somebody is not at that level, and it's not he or she is not at the highest level of faith or a full understanding of the Prophet, the Quran, Ahlul Bayt, and so on, they may receive some level of benefits of being reminded and therefore learning how to avoid certain things, be better, cure their hearts. I have personal experience with somebody who was not speaking to their mother for a long time. And through the ayat from the Holy Quran about this, and they were Christian, they were not Muslim. Through the ayat I shared with them from the Holy Quran, hadith from Ahlul Bayt, specifically from Imam Zayn al-Abidin alayhi salam, and the rights of the mother, that individual decided that they wanted to reconnect and be dutiful to their mother. So you can see that there is maw'idha, there is shifa, because that is a person who's disconnecting with their parents, with their mother specifically. There's a sickness, the heart is sick, and that was cured. And therefore they were able to mend their relationship with their mother. And therefore rahmah becomes the specific one for the believers. وَرَحْمَةٌ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ. I think that's with the time. قُلْ بِفَضْلِ اللَّهِ وَبِرَحْمَتِهِ فَبِذَلِكَ فَلْيَفْرَحُوا هُوَ خَيْرٌ مِمَّا يَجْمَعُونَ. بِفَضْلِ اللَّهِ, say, it is by the fadl. Fadl, it's basically comes from the excess. So they say when you give someone charity, it's fadl. Why? Because you give them what you don't need. Okay? So they say fadl is giving what you don't need. Everything from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is fadl. Why? Because he doesn't need anything. Does he need anything? He is needless. So everything from him is fadl. This Quran is specific and special. Bifadlillah. Okay? Whether we follow the Quran or not, whether we obey God or not, does he get any benefits or any harm? No. So it is through the grace, through the special kind of care from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that he revealed the Quran. It's fadl from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He doesn't need, and he's not in need of it. He's not in need of us following it. It is through his grace. قُلْ بِفَضْلِ اللَّهِ وَبِرَحْمَتِهِ, and it is through his mercy. Now, what is the difference here between his fadl and his rahmah? Rahmah refers to all the kind and good things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did for us that would normally happen from a stage of or a state of kindness in the heart. It's an emotion. Okay. However, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not have that emotion part. We cannot attribute that emotion. Now he's feeling merciful, so he's giving. No. So the effect of it is what he is referring to. What is the effect? If you feel, if a mother feels merciful, what would she do for her child? The serving and all the kindness, protection, all the beautiful things, all of those happen from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not the feeling of it. Okay? He does not have, he's not sometimes feels good towards us, so he's now, or sometimes he feels bad to, it's not, God doesn't have those feelings as we understand. So it's not the feeling that the rahmah as in the feeling. Rahmah is a state of emotions, very soft emotions that lead to actions. When God says بِرَحْمَتِهِ قُلْ بِفَضْلِ اللَّهِ وَبِرَحْمَتِهِ, it's not speaking of the emotional part of it. No, the actions that are normally the result of that very caring, loving, merciful feeling. Okay, so all of these happen because of the rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَبِرَحْمَتِهِ فَبِذَلِكَ فَلْيَفْرَحُوا. This fa and fa is repeated, although he could have said the sentence without fa. But it is actually, it's re-emphasizing on the fact that this is connected. Okay, therefore, if the translation therefore is the best, I would say, therefore, twice. فَبِذَلِكَ فَلْيَفْرَحُوا. Through this, therefore they should be happy. So with what? Quran should be the source of people's happiness. The fact that we receive the Quran should be the source of our happiness. The fact that we are chosen as the ummah that are recipient of this beautiful word of God is what should make us happy. فَبِذَلِكَ فَلْيَفْرَحُوا. The double emphasis. Therefore, this is what should make them happy. It is through the grace, it is through the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is the one that's worthy. فَبِذَلِكَ فَلْيَفْرَحُوا. And this is also a way of saying it should not be because of other things that they should be happy. This is what should make them happy. فَبِذَلِكَ فَلْيَفْرَحُوا. And it actually confirmed with the other part of the ayah where he says, هُوَ خَيْرٌ مِمَّا يَجْمَعُونَ. Surely it is better than all that they collect. Okay, so what are people normally happy with? They get a new car, they're happy. They get a new mobile phone, they're happy. They get a new toy, children, they're happy. That's us humans, yeah. We if you tell someone, or imagine the reaction of somebody signing onto their app online with the bank, and they see suddenly there's $1 million that they didn't have in their account. Imagine the happiness, the faith. Quran is saying what the Quran is better than all those things that make them normally happy. If anything is really worthy of making them happy, this is what it is. فَبِذَلِكَ فَلْيَفْرَحُوا وَخَيْرٌ مِمَّا يَجْمَعُونَ. If we understood hereafter versus here and how temporary here is, someone at the time of previous nations was crying for her child, a mother. And at that time, it seems, based on the narration, it seems like people lived a longer life. So the prophet of her time passed and saw that she's crying for her son who had died. He asked her, how old is he? She said, he's 300 years old. He died so young, poor thing. So he said, what if I tell you there will come a time that people don't live beyond 70 or 80? They only live 70 or 80 years average, and they die much younger than this. She was so shocked. And then the next question is what's amazing. She said, at that time, do they build houses? If you're gonna only live 70 years, why build a house? Based on her understanding, you're only living a few years. Why build a house? Only if she knew that they build the nicest houses, huh? They would spend so much more on building of their houses than the previous times and previous nations. Salman was one of the great companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He arrived at Madain, and they said to him, he was supposed to be the governor of Madain. I'll finish with this one, inshallah. Arrived at Madain. They said to him, first they were shocked. He was riding on a donkey. Okay, they expected a horseman with several guards around him. He was alone by himself. Arrived on a donkey. So they said, old man, we're expecting the governor to arrive. Did you see anyone as you were traveling? He said, no, I am the governor. I am Salman. So they were shocked. That was the first shocker. The next thing is they took him to the castle where the governor stays. And he looked at that. He said, this is not where I would stay. You can use this for public services and build me a room. I want my own place, a small room. He said, okay, describe maybe now. Obviously, he didn't like the castle. He wants something very specific. He said, you make the ceiling as tall as I am. And you make the width of the room as long as I am, so that when I lay down, I have enough room to lay down. And that's all I need. Beyond that, I don't need anything. This is Salman, because he understood dunya versus akhirah. He knew if you want so much in dunya, then you have to give up so much from the akhirah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us recognize Quran as the source of happiness, Quran as the source of guidance and mercy. We ask him to make us amongst those who listen to what said and follow what's best. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. صلى الله وسلم على سيدنا محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين.
الله